Hey guys, and welcome to another Game Explained discussion. I'm your host, Derek Bittner, and I'm joined today by Ryan Green to discuss the reveal of the latest Assassin's Creed game, Syndicate. Ryan got the chance to see the project firsthand, so what did Ubisoft show off, Ryan?
Well, they didn't show off a whole lot of gameplay, but they did really introduce the whole world to us. So similar to Assassin's Creed Unity, they're kind of continuing on that timeline. They've moved over to the 1868 time period, which is the Industrial Revolution in London. You know, they talked a little bit about that, the whole strife between the classes and how that's working out and how it's not working out, and where the assassins have an opportunity to fight back against the Templars once again. So it's the continuing of that conflict, just in a different setting, in a different era.
So pretty much like every other Assassin's Creed game.
Yes, surprisingly, yeah.
Yeah. So what are they trying to do different? I mean, we got the new setting, which is pretty standard for Assassin's Creed, where you just get a new time period. Interestingly, going with the Industrial Revolution type thing. Are they taking advantage of that time frame at all?
They're billing this as, quote, the first modern Assassin's Creed game. And prior to them showing anything about it in our very small meeting, you'd think, oh yeah, they're going to be like lasers and like nanomachines in it. But I guess they are correct in that, you know, industrial technologies and stuff like that being developed is the modern era. So the way they're taking advantage of that is more of how the game world kind of works out. You'll see more vehicles, you'll see different types of weapons. You won't see as many crude weapons like, you know, a sword or an axe. So that's sort of where they're going to bring in changes to the gameplay. But again, they haven't shown off a whole lot from that perspective.
Did you get to see any of the combat, since it's less about swords, I'm guessing? I mean, we spoke a little bit earlier, and you had mentioned how you're not going to be able to carry a blade out in the open anymore because you'll look like a damn psychopath.
Right. So by the time of this Industrial Revolution in London, they started having, you know, police, the bobbies, the fuzz, whatever. So there's going to be people that are going to see you with a weapon and kind of tackle you. To change that up differently, it's moving more towards a stealth approach again in the series. So you're going to focus more on stealth weapons, a lot more concealed weapons. So it's not just the hidden blades, which have been the mainstay of the series. One of the main characters, Jacob, is going to wear a nice pair of brass knuckles to do some, you know, quick slugging it out in combat. And there'll be also, you know, some smaller daggers, throwing weapons, things to distract enemies with. So where I feel like the series has gone a lot more bombastic, where you're doing a lot of naval battles and things like that, I think it's starting to slowly return back to being an assassin instead of a pirate.
Oh, okay. And it's interesting you said characters, because we actually do have two playable characters this time around, correct? Yeah,
so it's Jacob and Anna? I totally forget. I'm so sorry. The people presenting were French, so couldn't really understand them at times. But yeah, so they're supposed to be twins, and they haven't really gone into the sister all that much. They wanted to focus right now, pre-E3, on Jacob, who is, you know, supposed to have grown up in the countryside, not in, you know, London proper. And from there, you know, he's more of a brawler. He's new to the city, so that you're kind of learning the world along with him. And I think that's where they're going to potentially draw a line and distinction between him and his sister. Maybe she grows up in the city, maybe they were separated at birth, and hopefully not a weird Star Wars kind of romance early on. It's like, oh, sorry, yeah, no. But so I think that's where they're going to try to make them different in terms of the story. But they definitely kept harping on the fact that, you know, he's a charismatic brawler. He's a leader of a gang called the Rooks. One of the many gangs that are actually going to be in the game, which may end up being one of the bigger focuses, is the gang combat.
You were telling me a bit about this before, with the way the gangs work, and why don't you go into more detail on that, because that honestly sounds like potentially one of the more interesting aspects of this new Assassin's Creed.
In every area, there's going to be different gangs that are in control. The underworld grows a whole lot during the Industrial Revolution because There's just so many areas to exploit other people. So why not have the gangs running the place? And in this instance, the Templars are actually controlling almost all of the underworld, and it's where the assassins, Jacob and his sister, and some others, start their own gangs to start pushing out the other gangs to kind of take back the city for the people. So whenever you do an action in a certain territory, you will upset the Templars, and they will start going after you, and that'll result in random instances of gang fighting, and you have to chase down the leader and try to assassinate them. And I think they're just trying to make it more intimate in terms of you're not just going around and killing random gang leaders. It's people who clearly they're clearly connected to the rest of the story.
Mm-hmm. With the other gangs that are in this game, you said they're all controlled by the Templars. So does that mean they don't really fight each other? It's only against you?
Hard to say. Feasibly they might. There's always infighting within the Templar leadership, as far as I've seen from the series. But it could end up being just a whole there will be blood moment of just gangs fighting in the middle of the street and just everyone being slaughtered and dying. But that may end up being like the climax of the game. But so far it's kind of hard to say.
It'd be interesting if they use that as their opportunity to sort of use the idea that Middle Earth Shadow of Mordor had, where you take out different orcs, and you'd see sort of like a power struggle, and based on your actions, different orcs come to power, lose power, change in different ways. And this gang situation, depending on how they handle it, I think they could have a situation same like that, where you could maybe raise up one gang or make it lower, or basically manipulate it in the same way, so you get your own sort of stories going on with these different gangs. Because a lot of people praise that orc system in Shadow of Mordor, and I can't help but think that like Ubisoft has to know they have to do something similar to sort of, because everybody's talking about how it's almost like a better Assassin's Creed.
Right. Well, I mean, this game has been in development for the past 2 years, and I try to kind of question them about where they're coming from in terms of development. So maybe, I'm not sure if they're able to pick up anything and learn anything from the Shadows of Mordor. It's certainly possible. I mean, you can definitely see influences from other games, like, for example, like the Batman games, in terms of getting around the city. Instead of really just like running around, you actually have like a grappling hook built into your gauntlet, and you just zip line up to the top of the roofs, and you can create like a zip line that you can just like, I don't know, shimmy your way across and then jump down on someone who you otherwise wouldn't be able to get because you just fall to your death. So I mean, they've definitely taken a lot of cues from other series that have done open world fairly well and been received very well. But yeah, we'd have to definitely see more of the game. Maybe at E3 we'll be able to see some of that.
Yeah, I feel like that's going to be part of a major presentation where they show like the mechanics of running around and everything else. Basically one of their gameplay demos, like they showed off for Unity. To
your point of the whole how you could exploit the gang leadership stuff, they do show some of that in the actual combat. We did see a little brief instance of you had to invade a gang territory to get some of your own members rescued. And during that, they would show you that, well, if there's an actual leader in that group, if you take out the leader, then some of the other lower level members might run off. So they definitely have, at the very least, some basic changes to the gameplay in that perspective.
Okay. You had mentioned vehicles before as well. Are you able to take over these vehicles, or don't we know that yet?
They're boasting that you can do a whole lot with it, so you could run up to a stagecoach and just hijack it, punch the guy in the face, and just speed off. You can fight on top of it. You can abduct people and put them in the stagecoach. You can do a whole lot of things. This is what they're proposing to do. So far, what they showed us was actually, again, during a gang leader was running away, and she grabbed a stagecoach and went off, and you immediately grab a stagecoach as well. But seeing something like that happen, there was a cop nearby who comes and just rams into you. So there'll definitely be some instances like that. But aside from, like a horse and buggy, I wasn't really sure what other vehicles they were going to show in the game. I tried to push them on that. They did mention, though, that they want to, they want to keep the whole game fluid, so that's why they have the zip lines and the other vehicles, and they mentioned that they're going to have boats in the game as well. So yeah, you'll have, like, they mentioned specifically a hay boat. So obviously you got to jump into haystacks to get from tall places and whatnot, but there'll actually be boats like on the water that you can jump into that'll just be hay, and you can, I presume, just move around like that if you wanted to. But
I guess that works, yeah. Well, are there any other final thoughts you have on this game? Things you've seen that we didn't mention?
It seemed to be taking, like they have with every successive Assassin's Creed game, taking notes on things that they did right and what they could improve on, and as well from other games. And they seem to, again, be tweaking the formula over and over again. It's definitely, they're changing to, at the very least, the one character, Jacob, the faster combat, which is appreciated. You're not everyone's fighting with swords. It's not like the fencing style anymore. I think that's a nice change of pace. They're going to revolvers now, since they'll have those. They'll have a 6-shooter. They're changing the shooting mechanics up, so it's a little more intuitive, but not necessarily making it a shooter. Cover system is going to be a little bit more intuitive. So again, it's just they're building and building upon past successes and mistakes, and that's great. But I just, at the same time, I want to see something really big from this game, because having seen these games come out year after year after year, you come to expect a certain level of quality, you come to expect a certain level of bugs, and you kind of know what the game is going to be. So it's really going to come down to how they present the story and the world, and hopefully make some more intuitive and fun combat situations.
Yeah, that's sort of the major hope, and it's you want to see how the game changes and evolves, especially when it's a yearly release, because it's so easy to just assume it's going to be the same thing with minor tweaks here and there. So hopefully they have something big to really attract people to this one and make it a bit of a step up from Unity and its problems. But I guess we'll see. Alright guys, I think that covers it for our Assassin's Creed Syndicate discussion. So thank you guys for watching, and if you like this video, be sure to like us on Facebook and Twitter at GameXplain. And thank you, of course, Ryan, for joining us once again. And of course, stay tuned to GameXplain for more on Assassin's Creed and other things gaming too. Until next time guys, bye.